rev up your engines. Today I'm going to talk about 5 reasons you should not buy a Tesla electric car. Now everybody talks about electric cars being the future. I remember when I was a kid they talked about flying cars are going to be the future. Well, then that never came about. But electric cars probably will be a certain percentage of the future. Only how far away in the future? And of course, which models are going to succeed as electric cars and which are going to fail. Now, in my opinion, it's going to be many years before electric cars in the United States become normal vehicles that everyone drives around in. But if you do want to get an electric car today, here's 5 reasons why I'd say don't buy a Tesla. And numero uno, that's price. These things are really expensive. And, at least so far, they don't hold their value that much. I met a guy who bought a Tesla, put like 35,000 miles on it, and when he went to trade it in, the Tesla dealer offered him 50% of what he paid for that car. He was going to lose over $50,000 owning that thing for 2 years. And here's where competition's going to come into effect. Obviously, more and more companies are going to start making electric cars. Chevy now has the Chevy Bolt, not the Volt, but the Bolt. It's made in China. The Chinese have very modern factories. They seem to have pretty good quality control from what I've read. I haven't seen any here because they're generally not allowed to sell these Chinese cars in the United States yet. But of course, eventually they will. Nissan has the Nissan Leaf. That's an all-electric car that's been out a while, and the new ones are definitely a large improvement over the other ones. And you're talking a lot less money than what Tesla's charging. Now, if you're talking about game-changing parameters, hey, electric cars, right? They're electric, they're efficient, they don't pollute. Well, a lot of the competitors are making smaller electric cars. So people are going to go electric. Hey, let's face it, you might as well go small if you want to be efficient. But Tesla's more the full-size variety. His cars are expensive. Yeah, they're big, they got a lot of room. Let's face the facts. In the United States, the average car generally has not that many people riding around in the thing. So what's the point of making these big vehicles to haul all that weight and all those heavy batteries around if there's only 1 or 2 people in the car? You might as well as go small. So unless you have an endless supply of money and you want luxury, I advise don't buy a Tesla electric car. Buy some other model. And personally, I'd wait even on that until the chips fall the way they fall and you see who makes a reliable one, and the prices will start coming down as they mass produce them all. And speaking of mass production, that's the number 2 reason not to buy a Tesla. They've had poor quality control. They went from making not all that many cars to making tens of thousands of them every month. That changed the whole parameter for Tesla's manufacturing facility. They had problems in the factory. They ended up setting up tents and building the things in the parking lot. I guess Elon had an idea that it was going to be like the Terminator. He was going to have the robots build the robots and hardly have any people involved. Well, our technology hasn't evolved that far either, so they had so many problems, they ended up doing it in the parking lot with human beings. And those, the body parts didn't fit. There were large gaps on one side, small gaps on other sides. They had electrical problems with the dash control unit. Some of them, the doors are supposed to recognize you when you come and the door handles flip out because they got these hidden door handles. And of course, that broke too. Isn't that a surprise? You put these gimmicks on cars that the handles are hidden and then they pop out when you get close to it. Come on now, what are we, 5-year-olds impressed by, little technology like that? Hey, really, my 94 Celica has kind of hidden door handles. They're flush with the car. And that leads into the 3rd reason not to buy a Tesla. Poor reliability and expensive repairs of these things. Nobody's going to know how to fix these Teslas other than at the Tesla dealers, right? You know about car repair? What's the most expensive place that's going to charge you the most to get your car fixed? The dealer, of course. In fact, the last records I found, Tesla spends more money per car doing warranty work than even Mercedes-Benz during the same period. And Mercedes certainly isn't known for cheap repairs. Even GM spends less money per car on warranty repairs than Tesla does. It says something. And it certainly seems to say something to the Tesla executives. In 2018, 41 high-level executives quit and left the company. And in the last 12 months, 58 total high-level executives who've quit the company. Now that included a lot of guys who had serious experience in the car business, including the chief accountant. And hey, if the accountant is leaving, hey, maybe he knows something more than even I know about this stuff. That, well, there's not much future for me here. Who knows how long they're going to be around. He does the actual figures. And let's face it, high executives, they get paid a lot of money. If they're leaving a job that pays them a lot of money, they're kind of saying, well, I'm not betting with Tesla on this one. I think I'll go work somewhere else. Because really, we live in highly competitive times, global, worldwide economies. You put all your bank money, especially with theirs, on the Model 3 that they're going to mass produce. Things can easily go haywire. As an example, they recently laid off a bunch of people. They want to save money so they can make the price of the Model 3 lower. It was supposed to be like a $35,000 car, but in reality you couldn't get them for less than $45,000. But hey, if you're getting rid of people for a car that's already having problems in the manufacturing, I don't see that as a good thing. Now, the last reason I'm going to give not to buy a Tesla, the whole notion of electric cars in our modern society today. I got a friend in Canada. To begin with, he lives in Canada, so it's really cold. Well, what happens there? If you know anything about batteries, they lose a lot of their power when it gets really cold outside. They can lose 30 to 40% of their capacity. So he found out that even though he had the thing fully charged at one of these fancy stations that did it with 240 volts instead of the 120 in the house, when it got up in the morning, he had 40% less mileage on the little readout than it's supposed to be when it's fully charged, because it was so cold. And he said when he plugged it into his house at the 120, it was going to take 5 days to charge the car. He did it for a few hours and found out it hardly did anything because it was so cold outside. It was losing so much percentage of the electricity going in that it was almost useless plugging it into his house. So he had to drive to one of these 240 volt charging stations. And he told me when he was there, he got lucky. He got there and it took 5 hours to fully charge this thing there. It was so cold. And there were people, they had other electric cars, and they were waiting behind him. And he said they kind of looked at him and glared at him. One guy even said, are you almost done? Are you almost done? Can you imagine if there were millions of people driving electric cars and they had to wait for, bad enough, take 5 hours to charge their car? What if there's 3 guys in front of you, you know? And let's face it, batteries are heavy. You make a relatively large car like a Tesla, they're heavier than the little ones. They have to have bigger batteries to pull all that weight. That's just the law of diminishing returns. To make it go better, you put in a bigger battery, but the bigger battery weighs more, so then it has to store more electricity to pull itself, and it just turns into a vicious circle, which, who wants to get involved in that? You're probably better off always making smaller electric cars, not big monster ones. Now, sure, the Teslas have all kinds of power. Their fancy one is faster than a Dodge Challenger with a Hellcat engine in it. I mean, they're screaming because electric motors have full torque all the time. As soon as you turn them on, they go off. They don't need to rev up like a car engine. But to get all that power takes a lot of energy. And if people are getting an electric car because they want efficiency and they want to have long ranges, you should go for a lighter car, not a heavier car. And when you combine the heaviness with the high price originally, and then the high price of repairs that they have a history of already, I don't think it's a good idea to buy a Tesla today. I mean, there's always going to be rich guys out there. They want the biggest, fastest, coolest thing, you know. You see the Teslas in movies and stuff like that. Yeah, that's certainly going to be a market for the guy. But if you're talking about a gigantic mass market, I'd think twice. It could have been the right idea at the wrong time, implemented in the wrong fashion. Because when it comes to cars, it's not just the idea behind them, it's the implementation of that idea. And if it's implemented wrong, it can easily be a failure instead of a success. And with all those high-level executives quitting Tesla, it may be the rats are jumping off the ship before it completely sinks. Now, over the years, I've had customers buy new design cars that ended up failing, and then they were stuck with a car that wasn't worth that much money and had all kinds of problems. So me, I'd stay away from the Tesla. If you're into electric cars, I'd still wait a few years to see where the chips are going to fall. but I wouldn't be surprised at all if people started driving electric cars around that were made in China. After all, the Chinese already use over 100 million electric scooters, and they add 20 million each year, so they're obviously serious about mass marketing electric vehicles. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.